Superheroes are supposed to be invincible. They fight gods, survive alien invasions, and save the world before breakfast. But there's one enemy they can't punch their way out of. Turns out, some of the most powerful heroes in comics have fought secret wars against addiction. Iron Man built a suit that could withstand a nuclear blast, but couldn't stop himself from reaching for another drink. Batman locked himself in a cave for 30 days to break free from steroid pills that made him crave violence. So is the case with others: alcoholism, heroin, steroids, designer drugs. This is the side of superhero comics they don't put on lunchboxes. Today, we are looking at 8 heroes who prove that sometimes the hardest villain to defeat is the one staring back from the mirror. Iron Man, alcoholism. Iron Man, number 128, 1979. Demon in a Bottle, written by David Michelinie and Bob Layton. Art by Bob Layton and John Romita Jr. Tony Stark was a billionaire genius who built a weapon of mass destruction in a cave with scraps. He created an armor that let him fly faster than jets and punch through concrete like paper. He was an Avenger, a futurist, a hero who could solve any problem with enough money and intelligence. Except he couldn't solve the problem of his own drinking. It started small: a glass of wine at parties, scotch after board meetings. Nothing that seemed dangerous for a man who controlled a weapons empire and fought supervillains on weekends. But the stress kept building. His armor malfunctioned during a public appearance and accidentally killed a diplomat. His company faced lawsuits. His girlfriend left him. S.H.I.E.L.D. questioned his judgment. The pressure mounted until the only relief came from the bottom of a bottle. Tony started drinking during Avengers meetings. He piloted the Iron Man suit while intoxicated. He got into bar fights. He missed important business deals because he was too drunk to function. His hands shook when he tried to work on his armor. His best friend, James Rhodes, watched him spiral and didn't know how to help. Nobody did. The breaking point came when Tony drunkenly attacked his girlfriend, Bethany Cabe, during a blackout. He didn't remember doing it. That's when he realized he'd lost control completely. The armor couldn't protect him from himself. The money couldn't buy him sobriety. The intelligence that built Iron Man couldn't outsmart addiction. Tony locked himself in his mansion and went through withdrawal. No armor, no technology, just him and the disease he'd been feeding for months. He shook, he sweated, he vomited. He experienced the dangerous physical symptoms of alcohol withdrawal. He survived and sought proper support. He joined support groups. He admitted he had a chronic disease called alcoholism. He learned that recovery is a lifelong process, not a one-time fix. He stayed sober one day at a time. The Demon in a Bottle storyline became one of the most influential addiction stories in comics. It showed that heroes could have medical conditions requiring treatment. That addiction didn't discriminate based on wealth or power. That recovery was possible with proper support, but never easy. Tony would relapse multiple times over the decades, which is medically common, as relapse rates for substance use disorders mirror those of other chronic diseases like diabetes or hypertension. But he kept seeking treatment because that's what recovery requires. Iron Man could survive alien invasions, but his alcohol use disorder required medical treatment and ongoing support. Speedy, heroin. Green Lantern, Green Arrow, Mar 85-86, 1971. Snowbirds Don't Fly, written by Denny O'Neil. Art by Neil Adams. Roy Harper was Green Arrow's sidekick, a teenage orphan taken in by a billionaire vigilante and trained to fight crime. He was a founding member of the Teen Titans. He had everything a young hero could want, except for the one thing that mattered most. He had abandonment. Green Arrow lost his fortune and decided to take a road trip across America with Green Lantern to find himself. He left Roy behind in Star City, told him to handle things alone. Roy was 17 years old. His father figure abandoned him without a second thought. His team was disbanded. He had bills to pay and no idea how to be an adult. So he did what desperate teenagers do. He found something that made the pain stop. Heroin entered Roy's life through a girl he fell for. She introduced him to the drug, told him it would help him relax, help him forget. Roy took his first hit and felt relief for the first time since Green Arrow left. The weight disappeared. The abandonment didn't hurt anymore. So he took another hit and another until his brain chemistry changed and he couldn't stop. This is how addiction often starts: using substances to cope with emotional pain, which then creates physical dependency. Green Arrow returned weeks later expecting everything to be fine. Instead, he found his sidekick with track marks and suffering from substance use disorder. Roy's arms were covered in needle marks. His eyes were hollow. he was emaciated. Green Arrow's first reaction wasn't concern or compassion. He punched Roy in the face, called him a junkie, threw him out of his home. The hero who preached about social justice failed to recognize addiction as a disease requiring treatment, not punishment. Roy hit rock bottom alone. He went through withdrawal, a medically dangerous process that should have been supervised. He vomited, and experienced the severe physical symptoms of opioid withdrawal. Black Canary found him and helped him get proper support. Not Green Arrow, not the Titans. A hero who barely knew him understood what Roy needed most: medical help and compassion, not judgment. Snowbirds Don't Fly broke ground by showing addiction in mainstream comics. The Comics Code Authority had banned drug depictions for years. This storyline changed that. It showed that addiction could happen to heroes. That judgment and punishment didn't help. That addicts needed support, not abandonment. Roy's story influenced decades of comic storytelling about substance abuse. Speedy fought alongside the greatest heroes in the world, but his substance use disorder stemmed from abandonment trauma that no one addressed. Batman. Venom. Batman. Legends of the Dark Knight, number 16 to 20. 1991. Venom. Written by Dennis O'Neil. Art by Trevor Von Eden. Batman is supposed to be perfect, peak human condition, master strategist, the world's greatest detective. He trains his body and mind to flawless precision. He never fails except when he does. And when Batman fails, people die. A little girl drowned because Batman wasn't strong enough to save her. He reached for her hand underwater, but couldn't pull her free from debris trapping her leg. His strength failed. She died while he watched helplessly. That failure destroyed something fundamental in Batman's identity. He'd built his entire life on the belief that preparation and willpower could overcome anything. But he wasn't strong enough. He needed to be stronger. That's when he discovered Venom, a performance-enhancing steroid that increased strength exponentially for 1 hour. Batman started taking the pills to make sure he'd never be too weak again. The drug worked. He could lift cars, punch through walls, overpower any criminal. He was finally strong enough. But Venom came with side effects he didn't anticipate. The drug didn't just enhance his body, it rewired his brain. Batman started craving violence. He used excessive force on criminals who didn't deserve it. He took pleasure in hurting people. The calculated strategist became a brutal enforcer who broke bones for fun. Alfred watched in horror as Bruce Wayne became addicted to both the physical power and the psychological high of violence. Batman realized he was losing himself. The drug that made him stronger was destroying the discipline that made him Batman. He was becoming the thing he fought against. So he made a decision that should have been impossible for an addict. He went cold turkey. He locked himself in the Batcave and told Alfred not to let him out for 30 days, no matter what. Withdrawal hit like a train. Batman shook, hallucinated, screamed for Alfred to give him more pills. His body felt like it was tearing apart. He begged. He threatened. He broke down completely, but Alfred followed orders. 30 days later, Batman emerged clean, weaker physically, stronger mentally. He'd proven that willpower could overcome addiction, but he never forgot how close he came to losing everything. The Dark Knight could survive anything except the dependency that Venom created in his brain chemistry. Captain America, crystal meth. Captain America, number 372, 378, 1990. Streets of Poison, written by Mark Gruenwald, art by Mark Bagley. Steve Rogers is the living symbol of American ideals. Justice, honor, integrity. The super soldier serum made him peak human perfection. He doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. He doesn't take drugs. He's Captain America, except when a meth lab explosion took that choice away from him. Cap was investigating a drug ring in New York City when things went wrong. The criminals panicked. They triggered an explosion that filled the building with vaporized crystal meth. Hundreds of pounds of the drug went airborne. Cap got caught in the blast. The chemicals entered his bloodstream, and then something impossible happened. The crystal meth bonded with the super soldier serum in his blood. The drug that should have killed him instead created a new compound that made him stronger, faster, and more aggressive than ever. But it also made him addicted. Cap's body started craving the drug the moment it entered his system. He didn't know it yet. He just knew he felt amazing. The changes were subtle at first. Cap seemed more energetic, more confident, more willing to use force. Then he started making mistakes. He assaulted a fellow hero for questioning his judgment. He became paranoid. He accused friends of betraying him. He stopped sleeping. His hands shook when the high wore off. The perfect soldier was tweaking like a street addict. Black Widow was the first to realize what had happened. She recognized the symptoms from undercover work. Captain America was addicted to crystal meth. The man who represented everything good about America was strung out on one of the country's most destructive drugs. The irony was devastating. They got him to Avengers Tower. Cap fought them every step of the way. He insisted he was fine, and that he was better than ever, that they were the problem, not him. Classic addict denial. They had to physically restrain him while he detoxed. The super soldier serum that saved his life during the explosion now prolonged his suffering during withdrawal. He went through days of hell, but he survived because he was Captain America, and Captain America doesn't quit. The first Avenger proved that dependency can develop without intent and requires medical intervention regardless of how it started. Our Man, Miraclo. JSA number 187, 1999-2006. Various writers, including James Robinson and Jeff Johns. Rex Tyler created a miracle drug called Miraclo in 1940. One pill granted superhuman strength and speed for exactly 1 hour. He used it to become Our Man, a Golden Age hero who fought crime in 60-minute bursts. What he didn't realize was that Miraclo was incredibly addictive. He was a hero who needed a fix just to function. The addiction wasn't obvious at first. Rex took 1 pill per day for heroics. That seemed reasonable, medical, controlled. But his body started requiring the drug. When the hour ended, he felt weak, tired, ordinary. He needed another pill just to feel normal. So he took 2 pills, then 3. Then he was popping Miraclo throughout the day just to maintain baseline function. By the 1960s, Rex Tyler was a full-blown addict. He wasn't taking Miraclo to be a hero anymore. He was taking it to avoid withdrawal. He couldn't stop even when he wanted to. The drug controlled him completely. He tried to hide it from his wife and son, pretended everything was fine, kept the JSA from finding out their teammate was hooked on his own creation. But addiction always reveals itself eventually. His son, Rick Tyle, discovered the truth and followed in his father's footsteps. Not just as Our Man, as a Miraclo addict. Rick thought he could handle it better than his dad. Take the drug responsibly. Use it only for heroics. But addiction runs in families. Within months, Rick was taking multiple doses per day, craving the high, feeling incomplete without it. The JSA finally intervened. They forced Rick into treatment, made him confront the fact that Miraclo wasn't making him a hero. It was making him independent. Rick went through withdrawal and learned to access his powers without the drug. His abilities evolved beyond needing Miraclo, but the addiction left scars. Our Man's story is unique because it shows generational addiction. Father and son were both destroyed by the same drug. Both were convinced they could control something fundamentally uncontrollable. Both learning that heroism means admitting weakness, not hiding it. The hero who could only be super for 1 hour learned that recovery is a lifetime commitment. Our Man's struggle with Miraclo showed how addiction can have genetic and environmental components that pass through generations. Patriot, Mutant Growth Hormone, Young Avengers, number 1-12, 2005. Written by Alan Heinberg. Art by Jim Chung. Eli Bradley wanted to be a hero like his grandfather, Isaiah Bradley, one of the original super soldiers. The problem was, Eli didn't have powers. His grandfather's super soldier serum didn't pass genetically. Eli was just a normal teenager who wanted desperately to live up to a legendary name. So he did what desperate teenagers do. He found a shortcut. Mutant growth hormone hit the streets as a designer drug that temporarily granted powers to normal humans. Street-level criminals used it. Desperate civilians bought it. And Eli Bradley, who wanted to be a patriot, started injecting it daily to fake having his grandfather's abilities. He lied to the Young Avengers, told them his powers were genetic. Meanwhile, he was shooting up MGH in secret before every mission. The drug worked. MGH gave Eli enhanced strength, speed, and reflexes that made him look like a legitimate super soldier. He could fight alongside his team, live up to the Patriot name, be the hero he always wanted to be. But MGH came with side effects: mood swings, paranoia, physical dependency. Eli started needing larger doses to maintain the same effect. His body was building tolerance. His teammates discovered the truth after Eli collapsed during a mission. The MGH dose wore off mid-fi, and he nearly died. They found the injection marks, the empty vials, the evidence of months of lying. Captain, America himself confronted Eli about using drugs to be a hero. The same Captain America who'd accidentally gotten addicted to crystal meth years earlier. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Eli quit MGH cold turkey and tried to be a hero without powers. It didn't work. He felt useless, ordinary, like he was letting everyone down. Then his grandfather, Isaiah, gave Eli a blood transfusion that permanently granted him super soldier abilities. Eli finally got what he wanted, but he had to lose himself to addiction first, had to learn that shortcuts always have costs, that lying to your team destroys trust. Patriot's story resonated with young readers because it showed how desperation drives addiction. Eli wasn't weak or immoral. He was a kid who wanted to be special so badly that he risked everything. The young Avenger who wore the flag learned that real heroism means accepting your limitations, not chemically erasing them. Patriot wanted to honor his family legacy, but performance-enhancing drugs created physical and psychological dependency that nearly destroyed him. Jessica Jones, Alcoholism, alias number 128, 2001-2004. Written by Brian Michael Bendis. Art by Michael Gaydos. Jessica Jones had powers, super strength, flight, durability. She tried being a superhero once. It ended with her getting mind-controlled by the Purple Man for months. He made her hurt people, made her watch as he destroyed lives, used her as a weapon against her will. When she finally broke free, she was broken in ways that wouldn't heal. So she did what broken people do. She started drinking to forget. Jessica opened a detective agency called Alias Investigations and took cases other heroes wouldn't touch. Cheating spouses, insurance fraud, missing persons. She worked alone in a cramped office that smelled like stale beer and cigarettes. She drank during cases. She drank after cases. She drank until she passed out. Alcohol was the only thing that quieted the memories of what Purple Man made her do. Her drinking wasn't social or recreational. It was self-medication, a dangerous but common response to untreated PTSD. She used alcohol to manage flashbacks, nightmares, and intrusive thoughts that therapy alone couldn't resolve at the time. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Purple Man's face, heard his voice, remembered being controlled. The alcohol made those memories temporarily bearable, but self-medication always makes trauma worse in the long run, creating a cycle of dependency that compounds the original problem. Jessica's addiction destroyed relationships. She pushed away Luke Cage when he tried to help. She sabotaged friendships. She took on dangerous cases while intoxicated and nearly got herself killed multiple times. She'd show up to meet clients smelling like whiskey. She'd pass out during stakeouts. Classic signs of alcohol use disorder, when drinking interferes with work, relationships, and safety, but continues anyway because the brain has become dependent. The turning point came when she discovered she was pregnant with Luke Cage's child. Jessica realized she couldn't be a mother while struggling with alcohol use disorder. She couldn't let her trauma and addiction harm another life. So she stopped drinking and sought the support she needed. She worked with medical professionals to ensure safe cessation. She addressed her PTSD with proper trauma therapy. She built a support system. Recovery wasn't about willpower alone. It was about treating both the addiction and the underlying trauma that fueled it. Jessica's alcoholism was different from Tony Stark's. Tony drank under stress and pressure. Jessica drank due to trauma and PTSD. Her addiction showed that people often use substances to cope with pain that requires proper mental health treatment. That dual diagnosis, addiction plus mental health conditions, requires addressing both issues simultaneously. That recovery isn't about willpower alone, but about getting appropriate medical care, therapy, and support. Jessica Jones survived mind control, but developed alcohol use disorder while trying to cope with untreated trauma. Ultraman, Kryptonite. Forever Evil Number 1, 2013. Written by Jeff Johns. Art by David Finch. Ultraman is Superman's evil counterpart from Earth 3. A world where villains are heroes and heroes are villains. He leads the crime syndicate. He has all of Superman's powers with one critical difference. Kryptonite doesn't weaken him. It makes him stronger. It's his power source and his addiction. Ultraman discovered that consuming kryptonite enhanced his abilities. But what started as a power boost became a dependency. His body built tolerance. He needed more to achieve the same effect. Classic addiction physiology, even for a Kryptonian. The substance that should have been a tool became something he couldn't function without. The crime syndicate conquered their Earth, and Ultraman ruled through fear. But behind closed doors, he was desperately searching for kryptonite supplies. He couldn't let his teammates see him weak. Couldn't admit that he'd become dependent on the very thing that powered him. Because without kryptonite, Ultraman wasn't a god. He was just strong. And that terrified him. When the crime syndicate invaded Prime Earth during Forever Evil, Ultraman's first priority wasn't conquest. It was securing access to kryptonite. He raided Superman's Fortress of Solitude, attacked Star Labs. His addiction had become so severe that strategic planning took a back seat to ensuring his supply. This is how addiction rewires priorities, even for conquerors. His teammates knew. Superwoman watched his dependency and said nothing. Owlman calculated how long before withdrawal would make Ultraman vulnerable. The crime syndicate's leader was controlled by his addictio, and everyone knew it. They just didn't care enough to intervene. Enabling behavior isn't limited to Earth Zero. Ultraman's story shows something important about addiction. When the substance that hurts you is also tied to your identity and function, recovery becomes exponentially harder. He's trapped in a cycle where the thing destroying him is also the thing he believes makes him powerful. This psychological dependency, believing you need the substance to be yourself, is one of addiction's cruelest aspects. Ultraman conquered Earth, but his dependency on kryptonite proved that power and addiction are not mutually exclusive. These stories matter because they show that addiction doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care about super strength or genius intellect. It doesn't spare heroes just because they save the world. The most powerful people can fall victim to the same substances that destroy ordinary lives. And recovery isn't about being strong enough to quit. It's about being honest enough to admit you need help. If this opened your eyes to how even superheroes struggle with addiction, hit that like button. Subscribe for more deep dives into the stories comics don't always celebrate. Drop a comment telling me which addiction story hit hardest.